Final Humanities presentation. Hi, I'm Adela Coughlin. I'm a freshman at Morristown High School, and this is my first year in the Humanities Academy. Table of contents. In the first section of this presentation, I'll be talking about the design thinking process and how I incorporated it and used it in my project. Next, I will talk about the challenges I faced, how I overcame them, and how feedback night helped. And lastly, I will talk about the habits of mind and which ones I improved in. For my humanities project this year, I decided to make and share vegan recipes. I did this by doing research first to find a recipe I wanted to share. Next, I made the recipe and changed it to make it the best version of the meal, snack, or dish it could be. Then I wrote down the ingredients, directions, the total time it took to make the recipe, the cost, my personal thoughts and opinions, and lastly, a rating. I wanted to do this project because I know how difficult it can be to find a recipe that caters towards certain needs while also being healthy, inexpensive, and easy to make. The design thinking process. The design thinking process has six steps: empathy, define, ideate, prototype, and test. Empathy is the centerpiece of a human-centered process. The steps are to observe, engage, watch, and listen. Secondly, we have define. Define means bringing clarity and focus to our design space. We focus on the exact problem we are trying to solve and ask questions to narrow down our focus. Next, we have ideate. During this step, we concentrate on idea generation and transition from identifying problems to creating solutions. After that, we have prototype. During this step, we problem solve, communicate, and test possibilities. Lastly, we have test. During this step, we solicit feedback from our users. This is another chance to learn about the people we are designing for. We also refine our solutions. The design thinking process in my project. I had empathy for those around me with different eating habits or diets. I knew that it could be difficult at times to find a recipe that would meet certain needs. By doing this project, I provided a central resource for people who needed it. Then I had define. Define is when we bring clarity and focus to our project. I knew that I wanted to share recipes, but I didn't know what kind, and during this step I narrowed down my focus to just vegan recipes. After that, I'd ideate, where I concentrated on idea generation. I knew that I wanted to share recipes, but I didn't know how I wanted to share them. That was a problem for me, and my solution was to use a social media platform. Next, I had prototype. During this step, I had a lot of decisions to make, like what I would add to the recipe to make them my own, where I would share the recipes, like what social media platform, and also my schedule, when and where I would work on my project. Lastly, I have test. In this step, I needed to talk to the people around me that I was making my project for, the users, which in this case was everyone. I was able to talk to other students in the academy, the teachers of the academy, and people outside of the academy about my project, especially during feedback night. I was also able to ask questions and ask for opinions and new ideas. From this step, I learned more about the users, and from the feedback I learned more about the users from the feedback I got, and I was able to use it to make my project better. Challenges and feedback night. I faced many challenges during my project, but I found that most of the challenges I faced fell into three categories: confidence, indecision, and procrastinating. I was afraid to put myself out there because I kept second-guessing my project and comparing my project to others around me. I also didn't know what I wanted to do or how to do it, and I was too nervous to ask for other people's decisions. Lastly, I was so nervous about my project that I kept putting it off, but thankfully I was able to overcome those challenges that I faced over the course of the year, but especially during feedback night. What is feedback night? Feedback night is a night where students get to talk about their project to other students in the academy, teachers, and also people outside of the academy, whether it was parents of students, people from the school, or other people that joined the Google Meet. We got to ask for advice, opinions, and new ideas. Feedback night not only helped me with the challenges I faced, but also helped me with my project in general. For example, it helped me with Define, which is part of the design thinking process. On feedback night, I was able to ask a lot of questions and bring a lot of clarity to my project. One of the challenges I faced was indecision. I didn't know where I wanted to share the recipes or what kind, vegan or something else. Talking with these people gave me new ideas and new opinions. Feedback night also helped me with confidence. I was forced to talk to others about my project and ask for new ideas and new opinions. This was definitely really scary at first, but it's better in the long run because I got really comfortable and used to talking about my project with others. Lastly, it helped me with procrastinating. One of the main reasons I put off working was because I didn't know what to do with my project or how to do it. I had so many negative emotions about my project that I didn't even want to start. Feedback night gave me a clear path, what to do and when. Habits of mind. The habits of mind are split into two sections, actions and attitudes. Attitudes are the way we think and act about the task at hand, and actions are the things we do with the task itself. The habits that I improved in were persistence, responsibility, flexibility, and gratitude. I know that I improved in persistence because I pushed through the roadblocks and the boring parts of the project. I chose this project because it had a lot of hands-on, especially with the cooking, but I also had to do a lot of planning and research. With other projects, I would lose motivation quickly and not work, but I knew that I wanted to do this project, so I kept going. I also know that I improved in responsibility because I had a lot of freedom and I knew that I could not do my work during class. But I also knew that I had to get this done in time, and not only did I have to for a grade, but I also wanted to because this is something I'm interested in. I also improved in flexibility because I had to go on when things didn't go according to plan. This was really frustrating at first, but over the course of the year, I learned how to go more with the flow. And lastly, I improved in gratitude because I became really grateful for the things that I had taken for granted before, like access to a store to get food and ingredients, access to the internet to find new recipes, and the support from people around me, like students, teachers, and my parents. This is the original schedule that I made for myself. Because I had a lot of freedom in this project, at first it was a little difficult to figure out when I wanted to work. I made the schedule so I would be able to get everything done on time. The first day I would do research and find a recipe to make. The second day I would make the recipe. The third I would write it down as well as my thoughts and opinions. And lastly, on the fourth day, I would edit and finalize it to post. Although things didn't always go according to plan, the schedule was kind of difficult to follow because I would be making at least 5 recipes every month, and that was hard to find the time for, especially with school and extracurricular activities. So I made a new one that worked better for me. This is the second schedule that I made for myself. Even with the new and improved version, I still wasn't always able to follow it. Although I didn't work according to the schedule every day, it still helped me a lot with responsibility. Another example was when I changed my project. In the beginning of the year, I learned how to make jewelry, but this wasn't one of my interests, and that kind of ruined the whole point of the academy. In this class, we invest our time into something we're passionate about. Although I was really annoyed with changing my project, I realized that it was better in the long run. This is an example of what I would post. Here you can see a cinnamon roll because the first thing that I made were vegan cinnamon rolls. On Instagram, which is the social media platform that I decided to use, you could post multiple pictures at once. The cover picture was the food that I made, and then if you saw it, you could see the ingredients, the directions, health facts, the total cost and time of the recipe, my thoughts and opinions, and lastly, a rating of the overall recipe. What I plan to do in the future. Over the course of the year, I have already learned how to make new foods, and I've also helped others. I plan to continue this project even after I'm out of this class. I want to continue making new foods with different recipes, and I would also like to move on to different and new social media platforms so I can reach out to more people. I still want to keep the Instagram account though, so I think I'll post different content on each account. Thank you for watching.